resources on branding, both personal and corporate. And one of the reasons why, of course, we're here is really to understand how some of the principles that you may be learning in class about corporate branding actually can transfer to your own search for a job or your own positioning in the market. And so that is a really valuable idea, since you're already involved with marketing and branding, to learn how those principles that you might be applying to businesses can help you. There are a lot of reasons why that's a really good idea. And if I get behind a pillar, maybe you can move. There are a lot of reasons why that's a good idea, because there are many problems that branding solves. On the other hand, there are a lot of differences between the way a corporation uses branding and the way that we might, as individuals, use branding. And in fact, the problem that branding solves for companies is, in fact, the exact opposite problem that we might employ branding to solve on a personal level. The reason is that corporations are generally big places, they're institutions. They have a lot of different personalities interacting with their customers. And what they have a problem with is people getting connected with that institution, or that institution, that organization, that conglomerate, connecting with individual customers. So their problem is they're trying to personalize the experience that people have with that corporation, as compared to having this corporate relationship. The corporation is trying to personify their relationship. And that's why there's so many characters associated with brands, why there's so many Michelin men and Ronald McDonald's, why there's so many spokespeople that are related or connected to brands, is because when you want to personify a brand, you need attributes of a person. And when a corporation wants to connect, they use this method of personifying the attributes of the company through all of these different techniques in such a way as to connect better to their audience. Well, we've got a different problem. You're already people. You are already personified. You already have attributes of a person, and you're connecting all the time. So you have a different reason for employing some method. And in fact, when I say it is quite the opposite, what we need to do as people is to productize. We actually need to think about how to use some of the attributes that companies are using to frame their products, and to apply some of those principles to our own personal relationships, so that they can be more standardized, more consistent, rather than getting softer. We need to be getting a little more organized and a little bit more structured in terms of how we relate to the institutions, because now it's a person back to the institution. So that connection, in order for it to really work, requires us as people to become a little more like them, which is not a person. And that's weird. And that's really hard. That's really uncomfortable. People aren't supposed to be doing that. So when you hear about personal branding and you think, oh, that's cool, yeah, I'm just gonna, get a little tagline for myself. Well, it's harder than that. So we're going to be exploring some of those issues. Now, as you look at the internet, and as you look at the various materials, you may think that personal branding just has been around forever. It actually was invented in August of 1997, and it was first introduced in Inc. magazine in an article called The Brand of You. It was unheard of, actually, very much prior to that, and it has really sort of come into the ozone as this force where everyone says, oh yeah, I have to brand myself personally. What we're going to talk about today is really how to understand that concept of brand and what elements of more traditional branding we can start to apply, and some of the problems or challenges that you might face when you try to transfer branding to the personal sphere. We are actually living in a really exciting era now. And by way of background, I have there's a little bio in the handouts to give you some background. I do have a marketing firm. We've, for 31 years, been involved with marketing and branding for a variety of types of organizations, companies in this country and beyond. I also taught for 17 years at Carnegie Mellon in the business school and in the design department, and so have some idea of some of the educational issues related to branding, marketing, strategic planning, and so forth. And then also was involved myself with a lot of businesses. So I'm familiar not only with the opportunities of being in business and the opportunities of trying to frame yourself and frame products, but also personally aware of some of the challenges that we're going to be facing. But this is one of the most exciting times that someone can be trying to or thinking about entering the workforce. Not because there's a lot of jobs out there. It's tough out there. But this happens to be one of the best times to be creative of all time. To be creative. And the reason is because there are so many things going on that require creativity. It used to be that most of the labor force was involved with making stuff. Their hands were making stuff. Now, there's so many things that get made by machines or get made overseas or get made in much more efficient ways that making things does not require all the energy that it used to take, all of the hands that it used to take. So now, almost anybody can make anything by sending it overseas or through automation. That making things actually isn't as big an issue as it used to be. The GDP used to be mostly manufacturing. Now, it's mostly services and experiences. And that means that things like water, which are readily available in bottles now, become commoditized. Virtually anything can be made, but what is it that differentiates it or distinguishes it? Bigger problem. So that's a big issue, commoditization. The other things are when you think about the difference between a product and a service, the biggest issue is that the services, and in fact what you do or what you can contribute to a corporation, isn't like a product that you can try before you buy. People don't know really what you can do for them until they actually hire you. So in business or in marketing terminology, that's called an intangible, something that you cannot see, you cannot experience until after you've bought it. So many services and so many experiences are like that, that there's a whole industry now of trying to figure out how to make those services or experiences tangible.